And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to recap of round number 8 of the European Chess Championship. Today I played against the Turkish wanderer kid, Kuru Atilla, who is only 13 years old, but is already super strong, has above 2400 rating. I think he's either 13 or 14 years old, so it was quite an unpleasant pairing for me, since he's probably still a bit underrated with his rating, but not even only the rating itself, simply his playing style and attitude. He's simply quite young, and he just doesn't care. He's playing without any doubts, and so it's always kind of unpleasant to play against someone like this. So I had the white pieces. Let's see what happened. I played knight f3. Usually against younger opponents, it's kind of a good way to start the game, just because it's a bit more of a slower approach. He went for d5, and after g3 now he played b5, which was a little bit of a shock for me. It's not like this move is particularly bad or anything. There is this idea with b5 quite often, just to kind of stop c4 and gain space on the queen side. But here it's not very popular in general. So it's not like bad itself, but it's also not great for black. A more popular way of playing with this b5 ideas, for example, after g3 there is knight d7, d4, and now b5 is one of the lines, for example, just to stop c4. Here it makes more sense because white has already played d4, but in the game he played b5. I don't have d4 yet, so I can try to get c4, which I also did in the game. So I played bishop g2, knight f6, short castle, e6, and now d3. So I still kind of knew that this plan with d3 followed by c4 should be the best way to go for white, just to immediately challenge black's center. He went for bishop e7, now c4, and b takes c4, d takes c4, and c6. That's quite important. He can never really take here, at least for now, because there will be knight e5, also queen a4 is there, so this is just generally quite bad. And he also doesn't want to take with the e-pawn in general, because then he will be stuck with these hanging pawns, which are a bit weak here. So that's why he played c6. Now queen c2, short castle, rook d1. And honestly, I'm very shocked that this position is objectively basically equal. As far as I remember, this plan with d3 followed by c4 is quite unpleasant, also objectively for black. But after I checked it, after the game, I briefly went over the opening stage, and actually it's not much at all for white. So maybe it's a better try to go for something with e4 earlier, but then I thought this b5 in general makes sense, because in a position like this, after short castle, e5, knight d7, usually black anyway goes b5 and then c5 to play on the queen side. So I still think that c4 is kind of the principal approach here. So he went c6, so that after cd5 he can always take back with the c-pawn. I went queen c2, short castle, and rook d1. Again, quite logical moves. Maybe I don't really need rook d1. Maybe I could start with b3 as well. But these are kind of details. I tried to play as fast as possible here in general. So we got kind of like a Grunfeld position overall. I mean, a very good Grunfeld for white, of course, but it's still actually not clear if white has any advantage here. I still think that white's position is probably easier to play, but he just made moves, and it turned out that it's also not so easy for white. So here he played queen b6, I went knight c3, and now bishop a6. And in general, I thought the bishop on a6 is quite a silly piece, because it kind of only looks at the opponent's e4, but that's also the upside of it, because I always have to worry about d takes e4 at some moment. So he played bishop a6, now knight a4. I still think this is all quite logical. Queen b7, bishop b2, and now rook ac8. And here I went rook ac1. Here I think a better choice would have been knight e5. This would have put more pressure on my opponent. Because after rook c1, what I played in the game, now he played queen b8, and now I don't get knight e5 anymore. And this is probably something I want to get, because if he takes here, then at least I kind of have some more room for my pieces, and also he doesn't. Now I can finally maybe make e4 work at some moment. Also knight e5 is a nice move because it opens up the diagonal for the bishop on g2. So that might have put a little bit more pressure on him. I went rook c1 instead, now queen b8, now e3, and he just went rook d8, very logical, queen b1, and now knight d8, which surprised me a little bit. Honestly, I also didn't really see the plan for me. I thought that he would just go something like h6, and in general this move queen b1 something I don't really like, because my idea was to perhaps play queen a1, but the queen is just completely out of the game here. It's not really doing much here. Anyway, the position is probably already quite okay for black. I briefly saw that the computer was giving bishop f1 as an idea to get c takes d5. I think let's just say black goes h6. I think there was an idea like this. Let's just say he takes here and d6. I think that was kind of a nice touch. When if white gets something like this, it's probably a nice advantage. So that was one idea here, bishop f1. But I didn't really think about this move at all. Also, black does have the option to go c5 in some cases. Here again, probably not because of cd, but it's always an idea as well. So I went for queen b1, again, probably not such a great idea. He went knight e8. I thought with the idea of perhaps going bishop f6 in some moment, but again, this move kind of surprised me. But I also didn't react that well. I played queen a1, and now he played dc, which I did anticipate, but somehow I didn't really take it that seriously, because in general, dc doesn't really work so well, because I will always get a lot of play on this diagonal, but here it turns out it's not the case. I went knight d4, and now already I'm much worse in this position. Instead, knight e5 is better, but I thought if I exchange those knights, then in general, black will kind of solve all his problems. I don't know where the queen goes, maybe to b4, and I also have to kind of think about how I will regain the pawn. I will probably always have some compensation, but sometimes maybe also not. So that's why I shouldn't probably go for this queen a1 again. Maybe bishop f1 is a better idea as well. Or just to take cd when the position is probably just completely balanced. I also did think about that. Maybe just cd, and then something like knight d4 would be a better practical choice. So I went for this, and now knight d4. Again, a big mistake. He went bishop e7, which is very strong. Completely underestimated that. And after rook c4, now c5. So now we see that my queen on a1 is doing absolutely nothing. I played knight e2, he took, and now queen b7, and now on top of my queen on a1 doing absolutely nothing, my king is also very weak. I went king g1, which only makes it worse. Probably f3 is kind of the lesser evil here, when at least I'm blocking the diagonal. I was also worried that the f-pawn might get weak, but it's still a much better version than what I got in the game. I played king g1, he went knight b6, not the strongest. Apparently knight d6 is better. And if I go back, I mean, there's so many dangerous moves like knight e4, then knight g5, so the position is already very, very bad for me. He went knight b6, I took rook c2, and now queen f3. Again, maybe not necessary. You could have also started with maybe knight d6 here, even though perhaps I can take on g7. That might work. So I thought queen f3 anyways is logical. I think the computer says it's not best move, but it's a very sensible move. I went knight c3, knight d6, rook d2, and b5. Here, I mean, he played in general very, very good here. I played queen d1, and here he played queen f5, which actually allows me to equalize. I'm just seeing it now. Apparently e4 is quite strong. I didn't really think about that at all. What happens after knight e4? I'm still not entirely sure. Knight takes e4, queen takes e4, and what? I don't see it. I have rook c5. Wow, I didn't see that at all. Oh, that's a nice touch. There's rook c5 here, and he cannot take here because of rook d8, and apparently here it's equal. So e4 is a nice resource. I didn't see that at all. Instead, queen a8 probably would have been better here. I was intending to go queen g. Actually not here. If queen c6, I was intending to go queen g4. That was kind of a nice idea. When I have this idea with knight d5, which also works after bishop f6. At least that was my idea here. Knight d5. Also, if f5, knight d5 works, I thought that's also a nice idea. Probably g6 was the best. That's kind of what I was thinking. And now I was hoping that I have some play along this diagonal, but I was also not quite happy here. So apparently queen a8 is good when this queen g4 doesn't do as much, because I don't have the knight d5 tricks that well. Because after f5, knight d5 now, he can just take, and after knight e7 there is no double attack. So queen a8 would have been the best. Queen f5, now I went queen e2. Again, e4 would have been a nice chance. Queen e2, b4, knight a4, knight e4. Apparently knight d1 is better, but it's already quite sad for me in general. It's objectively lost already for me. Went knight a4, knight e4, rook d8, and g4. The problem is if I go f3, then knight g5, and I cannot really protect this pawn on f3. If I go king g2, he will anyway take this, I think, because, hang on, was there e4 here? I was thinking about some things like this. But there was queen h3, which I didn't really like here. Even though it might also continue, queen h3, king g1, but queen h5 looks quite unpleasant. Anyway, king g2, but it all looks very, very bad. I'm not entirely sure if there's a concrete win here, but somehow it looks like it. So I went g4, not wanting to play f3 yet, and queen g6. Now I went king g2. I also here noticed that my original intention was to go f3 here, when after knight g5 I wanted to go king g2, because now there's no knight f3 because of king f3. But then I noticed he has queen h6, and the queen will come to h3 when it's just completely game over. So I played king g2, h5, good move, very logical, f3, knight g5, rook c4. And here he went h4, which is a mistake, but still absolutely good enough for a winning advantage. Computer says that queen b1 is better here, which is also quite a logical idea, just to pick up these pawns or to have rook d1 as an idea. h4, I played h3, now queen b1, and rook c1, apparently a big mistake. I had bishop c1, I didn't see that move at all. That would be a nice defense when already kind of threatening to go queen c2, exchanging queens, so that would have been quite a nice defense here. And here it's actually not so bad for me anymore, as I see it. But I went rook c1, queen a2, now knight c5, queen a8, and honestly I didn't realize how bad it is just yet, but it's just completely lost for me. I think I kind of missed this move queen a8, when now he has the big threat of bishop c5 and then knight takes f3, or even knight f3 immediately. For example, if I go rook c2, he can take here, and then knight f3 just wins on the spot because of queen f3 and rook d2. So I went e4 to stop this, but queen b8 is very unpleasant. Now queen g3 is coming, so I have to go e5, and now he goes back queen a8, another very good spot by him, and here he has the threat of knight f3. So again, if I go rook c2, he can also take here and go knight f3, and then rook d2, and he will win the queen in the game. So I had to go knight e4, which of course is incredibly sad for me to do this. But I still didn't see the forcing win here. And yeah, apparently neither did he. He went for queen a2, which surprised me a little bit, but it's actually a very, very nice idea by him. So it does allow me to win back the piece, but he will get a lot of pawns and my king is chronically weak. So queen a2 was actually a very nice spot by him. In general, I thought that bishop g5 is not the only winning move. In general, my position is just so bad because my king will always be weak. My bishop on b2 doesn't do anything at all. My pawn structure is horrible and his pieces are way more active than mine. So I thought that queen a2 might be a nice move. And if queen c2, now threatening rook a1, now to go queen a6, kind of disrupting my coordination. And now I don't have queen e2 anymore. So I thought this might have been good as well. But it seems like what he played is also very good. So he gave back the piece, queen g3 check, king h1, queen h3, king g1. I also cannot go to f1 because of rook f3, I thought, and then rook f3 is simply coming. So I went here, he repeated a little bit, and then went for rook d3, which is very strong. Also, the sad thing for me is that I don't have any counterplay at all on the black king, because there are no ideas with queen h5. So went bishop f4, kind of the only move that doesn't lose on the spot, because again, if I don't do anything, he will probably go rook f3 or b3. Like, there are just so many ideas. Well, the main idea, I guess, is queen h3. Like, let's say if I go here, queen h3 and then rook g3. This is kind of the main threat. So that's why I went bishop f4. He cannot take because the rook is hanging, so he went queen h3, bishop h2, and b3, rook b2. Here I was spending some time just trying to see how I can ask him some questions. The position is -7, keep in mind, so it's just completely lost. I was also trying to make this kind of work to find some ideas here for him to think after rook c8 check, king h7, g5, but he can just go king g6. And funnily enough, his king is super safe. So I went rook b2 instead, which just doesn't force matters, which always makes it harder for your opponent to actually find the win if he doesn't have a forcing reply. So he went rook c3, which is good. I went queen d1. He did repeat here. I guess there's also maybe something better, but then he went for king h7, a nice prophylactic move, stepping with the king out of the check on d8. I went rook f2, queen e3. I think that was all quite logical. Queen e2 and now b2. And this was all good. I mean, it's still completely lost for me. Queen takes b2. I cannot take here because of intermediate check, and then I'm losing the queen. So I took here, queen e4, king g1, queen takes g4 check, king h1, queen e4, again some repetition, king g1, and here he made the big mistake, rook e3, which now it's actually not so clear anymore. So here was kind of his last chance, I think, to win with queen g4 check, and after king h1, queen d1, bishop g1. Still not entirely clear. Queen d5 check, king h2, and probably he can pick up this pawn, but it's not like a completely forcing win, because my king is somewhat escaping. I guess I can go to h1 or to g2. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'll go here. And the game at least somewhat goes on. Like it's not completely like it's not a forcing win. Of course, it's completely over, but he was trying to look for a forcing win, which was kind of the mistake here. So he went rook e3 instead, but now I play queen d2, and actually it's not so clear how he can now win this. He went for h3, and now already it's a draw. Apparently queen g6 is the only way to still have winning chances, and if king h1, queen b1, bishop g1, queen e4, and again then he will win the pawn, but still it goes on. Like it's not a complete win. So yeah, but he went for h3. Now I have rook f4, the only defending move, and now it's already a draw. He went rook b1. If queen g6, I thought I have king f2, even though now I'm thinking there's rook d3, and I'm not entirely sure what is going on. But maybe queen e2, and if queen g2, I can always go here. And again, I don't see the forcing win, and I also always have some counter chances with some checks. So not easy for him. Instead, he went queen b1, king f2, rook d3, queen e2. He gave checks, again repeating, and then king g8. Now I think also the only drawing move, rook b4 at this moment. Now I'm forcing him to take, and then we have this position where he has 3 pawns for the bishop, which is just a draw. And also he has to take, like if he moves the queen somewhere, it's not even clear where, but I always have, well, yeah. not here where, but I just want to point out that I have always this this idea with queen h5 checkmate, even though of course now the rook is hanging, but just wanted to say that as well. So he took this, and now it's a draw. So he was still trying a little bit, but here I yeah, defended well, and there's nothing left here. He was still playing this on. I mean, of course he was quite upset that he didn't win the game, because he was just winning basically all the time. And yeah, today I was lucky. There's no other way to say it. But I do think that I did put up quite a good defense. I mean, I was trying to look for ways on how to keep the game going, and not letting him find any forced win, which at the end of the day paid off, and at least I managed to save the game and not lose this. If I would have lost this, it would be quite painful. Of course, now the tournament is still not going great, but I'm still hopeful for a good finish. There are still 3 more rounds, and yeah, gonna try to make the best out of it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's recap. I hope you found value in my analysis. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you tomorrow.